Hi, I'm Kay Choi. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to film a video yesterday. I had all these lofty goals of filming, editing, writing, filming, editing a video or two yesterday, but I ended up cleaning the house in the morning and then I just did nothing for the rest of the day because I just was not motivated. So I actually asked on Instagram for suggestions of video topics because I just wasn't feeling very inspired. If you're not following me on Instagram, at Christina Choi, you can follow me there. And I got a lot of great ideas from all of you, so thank you. And they have sparked some inspiration for me. And one of them that stood out to me for a couple of different reasons was this one, talk about what motivates you. From that reminded me of something that I had read the other day. I think it was on Reddit. So I think it was an Ask Reddit thread, and the question was, people who work out regularly, can you talk about what motivates you? And one of the responses there talked about how it's not so much motivation, but discipline that really allows you to get things done. So I've just been thinking about that a lot for the past few days, and given that yesterday I was feeling really unmotivated and didn't end up filming any videos, and then there was one suggestion about talking about motivation, just thought that I would talk about that in this video. I'm doing it a little bit differently. I'm not really scripting it all out like I normally do for these types of videos, but I'm doing a get ready with me. So I got my makeup. My daily makeup is in this pouch, and I like to sit down in front of my mirror and do my makeup. So I'm just gonna kind of free flow chat through my thoughts on this topic. So sorry if my hair was touching the mic. If you're expecting like a TED talk about motivation and looking for something that'll really inspire you, then sorry, you're probably in the wrong place. But if you just want to hear some of my thoughts and maybe some tips of how I try to stay motivated and disciplined to reach my goals, and also maybe just feel a little bit less alone, because obviously I have down times where I just don't feel motivated at all, then hopefully this is a little bit helpful for you. Instead of pausing and like doing the thing where I show you what I'm using, I'll just like insert it on the bottom here so that if you are interested in what I'm applying, then you can have that information, but that way I can just kind of not break the flow and talk about products in between. What I was thinking about motivation is so it's really the why. It's the why that you're reaching for a certain goal. So for example, if I had a goal of running a marathon, I'll use that example since I ran the Detroit Marathon not too long ago in October. My goal was to run a sub-4 marathon, which is a marathon that you run in under 4 hours. It's a pretty big goal and kind of a common goal, I think, in the running community, because it's this threshold that can be pretty difficult to break. And if I think about the motivation behind that goal, why I wanted to reach that goal, there were a couple of things. One was I had done the San Francisco Marathon 3 years prior in 2016. And for that marathon, I ran it in 4 hours and 9 minutes. And that one, I hadn't planned to run it anywhere near 4 hours. My goal, I think, was 4.5 hours, and really just to finish it because it was my very first marathon. So I didn't really have any specific goals around the time. But this time around, I wanted to beat my time, and also it was kind of like a pride thing. So I wanted to have the bragging rights and like join the sub-4 club. Those were really my main motivations, or the reasons behind that goal. Now, I didn't end up reaching that goal. I'm getting face cream in my hair. I didn't end up reaching that goal. I ended up running it in 4 hours and 13 minutes, which was slower than my previous marathon and also not any closer to a sub-4 marathon. So when I try to think about why I didn't end up reaching that goal, I mean, there were some things like I'm 3 years older, or almost 3.5 years older than the time I ran my first marathon. So that could come into play, although age doesn't necessarily dictate your performance. I think one of the reasons was the motivation behind my goal was not strong enough. So the main motivation was just to be able to say that I ran under 4 hours. So the stakes weren't really that high, I guess, because if I did it, then, there wasn't really any consequences. Whereas for my first marathon, my goal was to finish and not be injured and just to run it, and feel comfortable and feel strong, because I had run some half marathons before where I did not train properly and it was really painful. And so I knew with a full marathon, I really needed to up my training game. And so with that motivation, I ended up performing way better than this second time around. And I think it's because I knew like I did not want to get hurt or injured or, do anything that could damage my muscles or knees or anything like that. And so because of that, I think that motivation was stronger. So I think when it comes to motivation and goals, what the goal is really matters, and kind of what the consequences are if you don't meet that goal. Now, the other piece to it, which was the thing that I had read and thought was really interesting on that Reddit comment, was the discipline piece. You could have that motivation and be really clear, have a clear understanding of why you're reaching for a certain goal, but you really need to put systems in place, or at least I really need to put systems in place to actually take the small steps that will take you to your goal. Because often goals, if we are setting good goals for ourselves, they are somewhat challenging and hard to reach, which is why you need a strong motivation for that. Goals are not usually things that you can accomplish overnight, even over a month or half a year, sometimes even a year. So you really need to break it down into digestible chunks to be able to ultimately reach it. And that's where discipline really comes in. So going back to the marathon training example, it's not fun to run and train for a marathon on the day-to-day. Ultimately, when you look back at it, it feels really good and you feel very accomplished. But on the day-to-day, when you have to get up at 5 in the morning in order to get your miles in before work, it's really not fun. So just that motivation by itself is not enough. If I woke up in the morning and I needed to do my marathon training and I only thought about why I was training for a marathon or why I had a certain, time goal or whatever it was for my marathon, that wouldn't be enough. I needed to be able to set myself up for success. So I feel like I'm kind of not making sense, but with the marathon training, I had to make myself a schedule, a daily schedule of the miles that I was going to be running. And so I could see, on a day-to-day what I needed to do, and then also look ahead and see, where I needed to be at week 1, at week 5, at 6 months into the training. And so really the counterpart or complement to motivation is discipline. And discipline is not fun. Motivation is inspiring and you feel good about yourself, like, yeah, I'm gonna reach for this goal. Discipline is the hard work. And sadly, I don't think there is really an easy way around becoming more disciplined. I wish there were, because that would just make things a lot easier. But when it comes to discipline, you just gotta just do it. But you kind of have those two things in mind. You have your daily kind of goals of doing whatever action you need to take for that day, and it ultimately is supporting the higher motivation that you have. So again, going back to the 2 marathon examples, the first time around, I think my motivation was stronger because it was my very first marathon. I didn't want to get injured and I just wanted to do the training properly. And so that gave me more motivation to be disciplined in the training process. The second time around, my motivation and my goal was just to be faster and be better and be able to brag about my time. And which again, as I was saying, I don't think was as strong. And so when it came to being disciplined, I still had the same running schedule and same technique. I even had a friend that was also training for a marathon. So we put our running schedules on a Google Drive doc, and we could keep each other accountable. So I even had that in place, but I just wasn't as disciplined. I think because my motivation was not as strong as the first time I ran a marathon. B, also because other things can come up, and I was busy traveling for work, and it was a bit harder for me to find the time. But that's not necessarily an excuse if you are disciplined enough and, wake up earlier than you need to, sacrifice social engagements or whatever if you want to. Where there's a will, there's a way, as they say. Yeah, that's just honestly what I've been thinking about, is this motivation versus, or maybe like times discipline. That's kind of like the magic formula. It's not just about feeling motivated enough to do something, but having the discipline to do it. This video, for example, yesterday I was not feeling motivated at all, even though I knew that, if I were to get up yesterday, film a video, edit it and all of that, it would be ultimately good for my channel because I would be consistent. I could keep up with my weekly uploads. If I got more than one video done, I could relax for a week or like take a bit of a break. But that wasn't really motivation enough, because if I don't, meet that goal, all that happens is that I don't have a video on my channel, and that doesn't have a huge consequence for me. It's also why having very specific goals helps. Sometimes they're called SMART goals. SMART is like an acronym for creating very good goals because they're measurable. I can't memorize the acronym, but I'll put it here on the screen. So having SMART goals, I think, helps with being more motivated. But again, it just comes down to the discipline. And lately I've been a lot more disciplined with working out. And I think it's because, as I was saying, I need to put some sort of structure or system in place to help me be more disciplined. And I've been using ClassPass, as I mentioned in a previous video. That helps me, and it's helped me a lot more than just having a gym membership, because with ClassPass, I have like a certain amount of credits that I need to use every month, and only a certain amount can roll over. And so seeing that motivates me to make sure I'm getting the most of my money. I'm motivated because if I cancel a class less than 12 hours before the class is supposed to start, or I don't show up, then I have to pay an extra fee. So that's also good motivation for me, because I don't want to pay extra. I don't want to lose out on the credits that I am paying for every month. So that is a lot stronger of a motivation than if I just don't show up at the gym, then yeah, I'll lose the money or not make the most of the money that I'm paying every month. But it's kind of like, that's kind of like a passive expense, So that type of structure where I have like a limited amount of credits that I need to use up every month. I have this like fear of missing a class or canceling a class at the last minute and having to pay a cancellation fee. That helps me stay more disciplined and make sure I'm scheduling classes on a regular basis and make sure that I'm actually showing up to them. So with that, I am ready for the day, not really doing anything much, just like running some errands, gonna watch the Oscars later. And again, this motivation plus discipline has just been a thought that I've been having over the past few days. Obviously I talked a lot about applying it to working out, exercising, running a marathon, but I'm also actively trying to apply it to work as well. So hopefully this just gives you a little bit of a nugget of inspiration or something like that, just to help you as you're going through school, exams you're studying for, or applications for college or grad school or work. Hopefully this gives you a little something to think about. If you want to see more casual videos like this, just on different topics, then please give this video a like. And if you want to see content about consulting, career and education, and travel, then please subscribe for more videos like that, and hit the notification bell as well. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening to me ramble and watching me do my makeup, and just thanks as always for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.